Thanks for joining us today. We are doing a live stream here to discuss kind of a last look at some of the lines. I'd like to pick a few of the sharper plays and try to explain them. And Kyle has some great information for us as normal, or as usual. And Kyle, you have, of course, a weather update that we're going to be covering every week. And it's probably good to start with that, being you're such a totals master here, and possibly a few trends.
Yeah, so let's get right into the weather. I have to say that weather kind of fascinates me. It was one of the things I considered going into when I was in school. So meteorology, it plays a big role in these games too. I think that it's something that if you're not looking at already, you should be looking at, especially if your totals better. And we all know that I'm a big totals better. So this week's weather, it's going to be a lot quicker than normal because there's not that much bad weather. There's one game in college football that should be made mention of: Navy and Tulane. Navy and Tulane, 77 degrees, 15 miles per hour wind, about 70% chance of rain. So in this game, I've also got an angle that I want to point out. Might as well say it now while we're on this game. Navy is 10-1-1 against the spread in their last 12 following a loss of 20 points or more. And I will say that I definitely lean Navy in this game. I couldn't quite get myself to bet it, and now the line's lower. I like Navy somewhat in this game, and I don't know what you would say about the weather and who this affects because both of them run an option offense. You know, Tulane's is a little bit different. It's a spread option from the shotgun. Navy, the typical triple option from the military schools. So I don't think rain is great for that, but I don't know that it really helps the over or the under or either side in too much in this one. What do you think?
Uh, so it could stop Tulane's passing game a little bit, and they don't pass obviously a ton. Obviously, Navy doesn't pass at all, so
Right.
you would think that it would help a triple option team a little bit more. There has been some sharp money on Navy, and I also wonder if that's because of the weather, because it's either two things: that the overreaction from what happened in their BYU game, or it must be from the weather is the only thing that I can think of. But good call on that. Yeah, only one in college football here.
Yeah, no, just mention here real quickly for the NFL. We're going to talk college football and NFL on this show. So, NFL, a couple games that stand out. Green Bay, seeing some win chances in this one. No rain, no chance for rain here. 60s, winds of 15, 16, 17 miles per hour. That's enough that you at least want to pay attention. I will say that I lean to the over in this game. So, I don't want to play the under based on that. Because the Lions secondary is a mess at this point. I mean, you would think that Rodgers would have a good game there, and I'm not really convinced the Green Bay defense is very good either. So I actually kind of like the over. So we'll see what this weather looks like as we get closer. The over is a pretty strong lean of mine. If the weather looks a little bit better, I might even play that one. The other one that I wanted to mention was Philly. The Rams in Philly looks like about 12 or 14 miles per hour wind in that game also. This is an interesting game because the Rams go east. The Rams get the big line move, so that kind of goes right into one of the things that we'll mention too. The Eagles, are they as bad as they looked last week? Probably not. The Rams, you could argue they got a bit fortunate to win that game against the Cowboys with the non-pass interference call at the end. I think this is a pretty tough game, but in general, weather not a big factor here this week.
Yeah, definitely. We'll have to keep our eyes open later in the year because that's that October, November time when the winds start kicking up, the isobars start getting closer, and you can have some seriously skewed games and scores from what people think that the game's going to be like. So huge angles on that. There's people that just bet based on weather, and they actually turn out pretty well.
Good.
Yeah, I've seen that quite a few times actually. Well, let's get into a little college football then. I picked three games here to discuss that had some sharper sides on them. If you can see my screen, I'm going to move to it. The first game that I do want to talk about is the SMU versus North Texas here. And we'll scroll. Whoops, clicked on that. We'll try to scroll down to that game here. And it looks like a bunch of money came in on North Texas. If you're looking at my screen, you can see that 66% of the bets are on North Texas, but 97% of the money is on North Texas. And this has bounced a lot. And I don't know how sharp this money was. It didn't exactly put this thing to 13.5. So there's some players on it, but it doesn't look like anything big. I wanted to mention it because it's one-sided for sure. I'm going to explain why there's some money here on North Texas. A lot of people remember that bowl game versus Florida Atlantic, I think, SMU. Their defense really faltered towards the end of the year. And, people are looking at SMU. They just play Texas State. And I think Texas State is an improved team here. But SMU didn't cover. I think they only won by 7 points here. SMU does have some consistency with a quarterback with Shane Buechele there, but North Texas is going to have their coach calling the plays, Seth Littrell. He's a pretty fast play caller. He did that. I believe he called plays for North Carolina a few, maybe 4 years ago when he was the offense coordinator there. But he's a fast-paced type guy. I know Mason Fine has gone from North Texas, but SMU's defense is just not that good. I took a good look at this game, and I got pretty close to taking North Texas at home, but it's still pretty unknown. I'm going to wait to see if this moves a little bit more on Saturday. There's a lot of selections out there. You don't have to force yourself into betting anything. Kyle, do you have any thoughts on this one?
I do. I considered the over in this game. I was sitting 68 last night. Now I'm seeing 69 or 69 and a half. Obviously that's a fairly important number because you could get a 38-31 type of game, 42-27. This is going to be a high-scoring game. I think everybody knows that, but that's a lot of points. I think North Texas offensively is a bit of a question to me. Mason Fine was so good. He meant everything to that team. Littrell definitely calls plays very quickly. In fact, I was looking at tempo as you were talking. They only went 19.76 seconds between plays against Houston Baptist. That is really, really fast. So if they keep playing that fast, North Texas could be a really good overlook. My concern is North Texas is probably going to run the football a lot more. Now they have more of a dual threat quarterback that's going to want to run instead of air it out constantly. SMU's defense their weakness is the secondary. I don't know if North Texas can take advantage of that enough. If you look at this game from the other side, SMU actually slowed down last week, or in their game against Texas State, went 24.04 seconds between plays. Last year, they were about 21 and a half, I believe. So they went about 2.5 or 2.7 seconds slower, it looks like. They were 21 and a quarter last year. So SMU slowed down. We'll see if that's going to continue or not. Buechele doesn't have the talent around him that he had last year. So I'm not sure if SMU's offense is going to be as good as they were last season. The other thing I wanted to mention a trend here, which, I don't know. I don't want to bet on the game just because of this, but these are interesting things to know. North Texas is 0-8 against the spread in their last 8 following a win. So they haven't been good at winning a second in a row, or at least covering the spread in that second game. So I'm going to pass on this game. I'm going to lean to the over still, but that's a pretty high total.
Yeah, it is. Was it 68, 69?
Yeah, 69 and a half now.
Maybe an SMU team total would be something to look at too. If North Texas keeps playing fast, but they can't put it in the end zone, SMU is just going to get that many more plays here. I would guess that their team total, this should be 42 to 20, 26, 27, something like that is probably where the team totals would be at, I would guess.
Maybe 27 and a half or something like that.
Yeah, so if you're going to get 42, which is somewhat key, you would probably maybe lean towards the over on SMU. Anything under that, would be a play possibly. So look at that team total. Most team totals come out on Saturday morning too. Once in a while, you'll find a good book that has it out earlier. Next game we have to talk about is Wake Forest versus NC State, and Wake Forest is a 2-point road dog here at NC State, which the books are pretty much telling you that they're pretty closely power rated equal here. Let's go back to my screen and see where these two teams line up here. It looks like lots of sharper money came in on Wake Forest. It opened up at +3. Now it's down to +1.5 at some of these books. 69% of the bets are on the Wake Forest Demon Deacons and 94% of the money here. So my explanation for this line is that Wake had a huge cover against Clemson, and that makes a statement when they're covering against Clemson. And Clemson lost a lot of players too. And it's not like they were ever in the game. They didn't score till the second half. But, Sam Hartman there, he showed some signs of life. He put up 182 yards there. And Clemson, they're supposed to be that team that just blows everybody out, and it didn't happen. But when you look at NC State, they still have quarterback controversies over there. They were a negative .411 yards per 41 yards per play, negative .4. That's not good, and that's probably why Wake Forest has a little bit of upside here. So, in my opinion, that's the reason for the line move. I'm going to give out a lean on Wake Forest. I just have not been a big believer on NC State, but this early in the game, I am not ready to bet this team.
So on this one, a couple angles. Well, at least the best one here. The home team is 16-4 ATS in the last 20 meetings between Wake Forest and NC State. So that would go against that. Having said that, like I said, I don't bet games just based on trends. I never do that. It's something I consider as part of the process, and I think you should as well. But, I think if you're blindly betting trends like this, you're probably not going to win in the long run. 3-3-5 defense for NC State now with Tony Gibson as their new defensive coordinator. We'll see how that works. I lean Wake Forest in this game as well. I kind of like the Demon Deacons. I think the sharp money has it right here as far as the move, at least. Wake Forest already played. NC State hasn't played yet. NC State also has had quite a few COVID issues to where they didn't have near as many practices, and I think that could be an issue. This is a team that wasn't very good last year. I think both of these teams are pretty well coached, but Clawson's done well as an underdog. I know it's only 1 or 1.5 points now, but I definitely lean Wake Forest in this game.
Yeah, if you like Wake Forest, you might even just take the money line bet,
right.
Get your plus 105 or even money wherever the book gives you. Next game, we have UCF versus Georgia Tech here. Georgia Tech's a dog, plus 7.5 here. Let's check out my screen here and take a look at where the money is possibly coming in. I must have passed this one up already. 58% of the tickets are on Georgia Tech and 76% of the money. It looks like it's starting to come back to UCF here. It was 60 and 82 when I wrote this down last night. So a little bit more money's coming in on UCF here. This is just the typical UCF line, an edge over a touchdown, Drives you nuts sometimes. It's like, how are you supposed to bet UCF? Well, they did have a bunch of players opt out, right? And that's why they had like 10 guys opt out, actually. And that was because of the COVID reasons. And their backup quarterback, Mack, also opted out too here. UCF has had obviously a ton of opportunities to make it into the top 5. They've been close. That one year they beat Auburn was just something spectacular in their bowl game, just for them. I mean, I'm not sure. People argue about how much Auburn tried that game. That's all hearsay. But Tech looked really good against Florida State. They outgained Florida State. They beat Florida State straight up. I watched that game. I was very impressed with Georgia Tech here. I think Georgia Tech is kind of throwing their big boy hat on after all these years, They finally got out of the option teams. Their coach is just doing a fantastic job over there. That's why you're seeing the sharp money on them. A lot of people are just kind of calling BS on UCF. And I think a lot of people last year remember when Pittsburgh not only covered that 10-point spread against UCF last year, Kyle, they won that one outright. So there you go. That's why you're seeing money on them.
So I'll start with UCF that year that they beat Auburn. That's the year that they were undefeated, right?
Yeah, that was.
That's the year that they won the national champion. Oh, wait, no, that's what they said.
Bird.
I like UCF. I don't have anything against UCF. I actually kind of root for them in general, but that was kind of funny how they said they were national champions that year. This game is a tough one for me. I think that Georgia Tech, they looked really good last week. The question is, was that more about Georgia Tech or Florida State? I think it's you have to be a little bit careful to think that Georgia Tech is just totally back. I mean, maybe the defense isn't as good as they looked against Florida State because Florida State's offense is bad. Norvell will work on that offense and they'll be better. I know quite a few people in the industry who like Georgia Tech here getting the points. I also know some sharp people who likes UCF. I have to say, I'm totally sitting out this game. The line move to the over is notable too. 44% of the bets on the over and 84% of the money. So we've got some sharp money on the over, definitely. My number was 62.5, which is exactly what it is right now. So I think that was a good move. I'm going to sit this one out, and I will say that UCF, even though they have a lot of people opting out, they still have a pretty deep team, especially the quarterbacks are still very good. So this is a big step up in class for Georgia Tech. I know that sounds funny when you say they just played Florida State, but UCF's a really good team. So we'll see what Georgia Tech's made of. That was a really big win for them. They need to have a great effort 2 weeks in a row.
And that's Kyle Hunter from bettersportspicks.com and Hunter Sports Picks. Make sure you check him out and check out his premium plays and great information that he has to offer. I'm Kiev O'Neill from the Odds Breakers. Let's move into a little NFL, Kyle. NFL's been crazy. I'm not going to lie. I had a bad beat last night when somehow Mr. Fourth Down conversion, Joe Burrow, just could not be stopped on fourth down and backdoored me. I had a good number too. I had 5.5 on the Browns, and it ended up 5. I'm glad I didn't use it for any circa picks or anything. I did have them in my survivor, so there's some. So now I can kind of rest easy for the weekend that my survivor is over with, and I'm still in here. So last week I had a great week though at 7-2. Real excited for the NFL, but this week's been very tough. I had Adam Burke on. We talked about all these power road teams this week. You have Kansas City on the road, you have New Orleans on the road, you have Baltimore on the road, you have San Francisco on the road, New England, right? Just the books must be loving this, is what I said earlier. But we want to cover some of the more prime games for you guys, and Seattle was one of them against the Patriots. A lot of people are saying that it might not happen because of the air quality. So I wanted to avoid that and talk about something that's for sure going to happen. And you have the New Orleans Saints facing the Raiders here, and the Raiders are only a 5.5 point home dog here. The total on this is 49.5 here. The big thing that I see about this game, Kyle, is the Michael Thomas injury, right? And does this change the depth of what New Orleans can do? I mean, this guy was the best receiver in football last year, and he was used a lot, and he opened up New Orleans' offense, right? But at the same time, Sean Payton, he just keeps impressing me, and I do regret it when I do bet against him a lot and lose. I think he's doubtful. I don't think he's going to play, and I have to assume that. But I think you're not going to see as much Emmanuel Sanders as people might think, because I think Emmanuel Sanders can't be quite acclimated yet to the Sean Payton offense, in my opinion. Maybe he is, but I think you're going to see a lot of Taysom Hill. A lot of Taysom Hill. There's going to be all kinds of gadget plays. There's going to be short fields. They're going to be trying to probably short passes is what I'm trying to say. Taysom Hill is going to probably throw the ball a couple times on some option type of plays that he has, possibly run or pass it. So I'm excited to see this game. But one thing I will say is the Raiders, 5.5 point dog. This is their first time playing in this stadium, and even though that there's not that crowd that's going to be yelling and supporting them, you wonder if they still want to, just put that extra effort up to cover this 5.5 point spread. I'm going to say that I am really tempted to bet the Raiders here, Kyle. I haven't, but I wanted to hear your thoughts on it.
Yeah, I would lean the Raiders in this game as well. I think that, New Orleans isn't the same team they were a few years ago. We have to remember that Drew Brees is a dink and dunk quarterback. Throw it 10 yards or less. They're not going downfield. So I would say if you look at these two teams, the Saints are an under team to me. The Raiders are an over team to me. So kind of clashing styles. Drew Brees if he doesn't have Michael Thomas, which we don't think he'll have Michael Thomas in this game. I know there's a little bit of speculation that he would try to play. I would think he would not play in this game. But, the Saints, to me, are a very good defense. People don't realize a few years ago that Saints defense was a weakness. Now it's very good. This is a really good secondary, especially for the Saints. The Raiders probably going to run the ball quite a bit in this game. I would think Jacobs will get quite a few carries. I'm going to lean to the under in this one, and I'm also going to lean toward the Raiders. I think that we might even see 6 points here for a +6 on the Raiders. At +6 is a pretty important number in the NFL. I would certainly lean toward the Raiders.
All right. Well, fantastic. Our leans came together here. We'll see if the public drives this one up. What, Monday night, not a lot going on. I think you have a good shot here of getting that 6 and maybe even a 6.5 here. So I'm excited to see what happens to this line for sure. Nothing I want to rush into yet. Next game we have is a big game. Well, it's a division game, and it's always a big game when it's the Kansas City Chiefs. They're laying about 8 points to the Chargers. This came down a little bit. It was 8.5. The total on this game went down a lot, actually. It was at 51.5. Now it's at 47.5. And basically it makes total sense to me because people are going to say this can't be a shootout game with the way the Chargers want to play this. If this is a shootout game, they're going to lose anyway. And there's only two things that could happen. Kansas City's going to beat them by a good margin, and they're just not going to score that many points, and it won't get up to 50. Or the Raiders or the Chargers are really going to control the game and frustrate Kansas City, and it's going to be a closer game. That's what they're saying, and won't even get up to 50 either. So the way I look at this is, I think power rated wise, I have Kansas City minus like 11 or something like that. But I find it funny that the books just cannot get a line on Kansas City. It reminds me of the Patriots. I think they covered their last 10 games, Kyle. Something crazy like that. I got to relook at it. It's something significant. But if you just dumb down everything, just square away, public, whatever, just think about this. I can see Kansas City winning this game 7 points to 21 points, right? I think there's a better chance that they win by 17 to 21 than they win by 3. I really do. I think, and so you have this 7 key number that's so key, and then you have it at 8. But then you look at yourself, there's just so many different ways that this game can end up that they cover. I like the fact that Kansas City has an extra amount of time to prepare for the Chargers and their defense. Joey Bosa, Ingram's going to be trying to get their sacks. Mahomes is going to be escaping. Kansas City showed that they can enforce their will pretty much on anybody. And I've been pretty low on the Chargers. And I think there is a massive coaching mismatch here with Andy Reid and Lynn here. So I'm giving this out as a free play here. I'm taking Kansas City minus 8. I like it always up to all the way up to 9.5, but I think you should take it early because you're going to see a lot more Kansas City money come in to Friday night, Saturday, especially on Sunday, and so it's just kind of one of those no dub picks that I have to make, Kyle.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think it'd be really hard to take the Chargers in this one. I mean, and look, like you said, they can't get the number high enough on the Chiefs, and the Chiefs are really good. If we say the Chiefs or the Ravens have to be your top power-rated team in the NFL, and nobody else could be very close to them. So if you look at the Chiefs, they're going to play the Chargers. The Chargers, they have to, like you said, they're going to have to run the ball. Tyrod Taylor is not a risk taker. He's another dink and dunk type of guy that's going to be really careful. I don't think he's necessarily a bad player, but he's not that, throw it deep and take big risks. He's going to try to move them down the field very slowly. I think the under makes sense here too. And I do wish I had played under 51 or 51.5 or whatever this started at. But the Chiefs side here, I would agree with. I think this line should probably be about 10. Until they prove us something different, I don't want to go against the Chiefs. Why would we go against them? And this early in the year in the NFL, I don't want to bet against really good teams, elite teams. And Kansas City, clearly an elite team. So you're never going to find me going against Kansas City. I don't know that I'm going to bet this one. I think my strongest lean in this game would probably be the under.
Yeah, if you look at the percentages here, 90% of the tickets on the Chiefs, 87% of the money. That's not really telling you a whole lot, but it is telling you at least that nobody's really betting on the Chargers here. I don't know who this book is that says minus 6.5. You're never going to find minus 6.5 on the Chiefs. That's ridiculous, and that's sometimes why I use many places besides just the Action Network to get my sharp money information. But I do know that there hasn't been a ton of hits yet. But this game here is significant also because the way you look at it is you think about what happened last night to the Browns. A guy like Joe Burrow, I'm not shocked that he came in really good. He's good. He's a very good quarterback. He's better than some quarterbacks now. Like I could say that he's probably better than Gardner Minshew. He's better than Mitch Trubisky. He's better than starting quarterbacks right now. But then you look at Tyrod Taylor, you have to think to yourself, what's the chances you're going to get a backdoor from the Chargers, right? What's the chances? It's pretty low.
A lot lower than the Bengals, yeah.
Yeah, definitely lower than the Bengals. So that's when you're taking over 7, you have to think about that stuff, even over 3 sometimes. But I'm happy about -8, and I'll tip my hat to the Chargers if they cover that. I know that their center, Mike Pouncey, is out this game. When there's a center out, it can really change the offensive line. He calls the plays on the offensive line between the guards, and that's what centers do. So that's more significant than some people think. Kyle, I know I kind of blew through college, and I thought you might have had a game or two to talk about. Would it be college or the pros?
Pros, I want to give one angle too here in the pros. Teams that have a home opener in week 2 after an ATS win on the road in week 1 are 55-35 ATS, 61.1%. Now, a lot of teams fit this, so we'll just fly through it real quick. The Cardinals, the Raiders, the Steelers, the Bears, the Packers, the Seahawks. I'm not saying I like all of those teams. I lean towards some of those teams. I think that it's just one of those angles that you want to pay attention to, because that's it's a decent enough sample size that I think there's something to this, that they played well on the road in their first game. They come home for their home opener in week 2. They play well again. Now, I will say things are a little bit different. We said this last week with the COVID, no fans. So I'd be cautious about blindly playing things like this, because the home field advantage is a bit smaller than what it would have been in the past. I think 1 point's probably about right for home field advantage here in the NFL this year. So I'm going to be cautious about that. But I did want to give a free play here also in the NFL. I'm going to go Vikings and Colts over the total here of 48.5. Look, the Vikings secondary is a mess. They're really bad. I know Phillip Rivers is a bit questionable. Look, he's always going to throw some bad interception. It might be a pick 6, though. So, it might actually help the over in some cases. Cousins, when playing from behind, he was really aggressive last week. Minnesota still has enough weapons on offense. I think the Colts offense is pretty good. They were a bit disappointing last week, but they had a bunch of yards against Jacksonville. That was a very misleading game. So I'm going to take over in the Vikings and the Colts for my free play here this week.
All right, man. Well, I like it. Over Vikings and Colts. That's a fantastic play. I think I was on that as well. So loving that one. Where could our listeners and viewers find your great information, Kyle?
Well, I've got a coupon code for anybody listening. It's odds15. If you go over to bettersportspicks.com, you can enter odds15. That's ODDS, the number 15. You get $15 off anything at the site. You can use that for my premium daily packages, subscriptions. Steven Nover is also at the site. He's been on an amazing run, 17-4 in his last 21 NBA plays. Really solid handicapper there, also in the NFL. I'm 57% all-time on college football totals. So you can also buy a college football totals only package over at bettersportspicks.com. That's what makes it a bit unique, is you can buy totals only, sides only. Also wanted to point out that there's tons of free information over there. We're going to be giving free members information where you can go sign up at bettersportspicks.com, make a free registration. I'll give you a free premium play just for registering over there if you send me your username as well. So Kiev's going to be doing some stuff over at bettersportspicks.com as well with MMA, UFC stuff. So I know nothing about it. He knows a lot more than I do, and he's done well on these. So we'll provide readers over there some more information based on that as well.
Yep, I will have a free play out there for this week's matchup here, UFC on ESPN Plus 36. So real excited for the UFC this weekend. Hey, if your college isn't going that good on Saturday, check out the UFC. There's some excellent fights this weekend. Kyle, thanks so much for coming on. Man, it's going to be a great weekend of football no matter what. We have the NFL back. We're going to learn a lot about some of these teams. That's what I'm really excited about, man.
Absolutely, and there's going to be even more games next weekend, so we're going to kind of ramp up things. I'm looking forward to it.
All right, everyone have a great weekend. Thank you.